back to SatoshiConomy, Bitcoin and peer-to-peer financial empowerment. Hashtag love all, serve others. 10 reasons why Bitcoin is pumping. It's an incredible day today, January 6, 2021. Today, $1 trillion. The total global market cap of all cryptocurrencies is going to go over $1 trillion. At the time of this recording, the total market cap was at about 970 billion. And Bitcoin it went over 36,000. It's at about 36,300 right now. If you're new to the channel, please, welcome, and please like and subscribe. Click that bell notifier. Super appreciate it. It's a way you can support me for free. I do want to appeal one thing real quick. I am in a generation that is older than most people in the crypto verse. And I think that somehow people are discounting. I'd like to appeal and say that I do come from a viewpoint that adds, because of the dues that I've paid, maybe a whole generation's worth greater than you or more. Maybe you value that's where I come from, a perspective that has a little bit more years worth of perspective. So please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rattle off about 10 points as far as why Bitcoin is pumping. And number one is it's truly a global peer-to-peer technology. This is the technology of the future. It seems like people after about 40 years of age who are in or not in this niche or supporting it, they have a harder time grasping the reality that there could be true value in something that you can't see, touch, taste, smell, or feel. Something that represents itself in zeros and ones on a ledger somewhere. But if you take a look at a gamer or maybe your teenager on the phone playing some of the games, you can really see the value of something that is on the internet. If you can translate that sort of value proposition, that's really what's happening with money. It's actually, I think, the natural progression of where money was bound to go to. I mean, with the internet age coming in the 80s, and then with its just leaps and bounds of innovations coming in, money, really that's what Bitcoin is. It's the internet of money. And so whoever doesn't get it, or whoever is still claiming that it's going to crash, they really don't have an idea they're listening more to people who just talk to them, or listening more to people with their opinions instead of finding out more in-depth research as far as the fundamentals and the pumpamentals of what Bitcoin really represents. But it's the future. Number two, this is ideal. This is with money printing. That is ideal for Bitcoin. That's what it was made for. I mean, the Genesis block that was launched on January 3rd, 2009, 12 years ago in 3 days, it was tagged with a message that noted the bank bailouts in England. And really, it was a very poignant note saying that this is one of the reasons, or the primary reason why this is being launched as something that will compete with the runaway inflation, or the runaway rules, or changing of the rules, or just the unaccountability of the banking system at that time. And so money printing with what's going on right now, it's rocket fuel for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. In 2020, we see that about 25% of all the dollars that were ever created in the history of the USA were created. And with the brand new stimulus coming out, and with projections that are being made for 2021, it looks like that by the end of 2021, in 2 years' time, that about 50% of all the dollars that have ever been created in the history of this country will have been created. I've heard many times it said that there was more money rolled out in 2020 than in the first 200 years of the history of the USA. Number three, Bitcoin's design has terminal inflation. Right now, it has a reducing rate of inflation, or in other words, the number of Bitcoins that are produced through mining. Right now, we're at a rate of 900 Bitcoin per day. In 2024, that's going to drop down to 450 Bitcoin per day. And by a mere 7 years from now, in 2028, there will be only 225 per day of Bitcoin that are newly available. Right now, there's about 18.6 million that have been mined out of a total of 21 million that will ever be mined. So right now, there's, 86.5% in the year 2024, it'll amount to 93.3% of Bitcoin that will ever be mined. And in 2028, by that time, there will be 96.5% of all the Bitcoin that will ever be mined. So it has true scarcity. Eventually, it will have no more Bitcoin mined, and it will have terminal inflation. It's the first money in the history of the world that has ever had a reducing rate of inflation. And so it has true scarcity because it's a scarcity that is programmed by math. Unlike gold, which many people say is scarce, and it is scarce, but it's not truly scarce as compared to a mathematical equation. If we need more gold, you can just mine more out of the ground. And that's not to mention all of the untold stores that are underneath the surface of the ocean or out into space. And so Bitcoin has true scarcity. Number four, the reason why it's pumping it is it has the equal amount of price no matter where you are on the earth. And that's an interesting but very real reason why it adds to the value of it. There's no question. And whereas currencies, there's always arbitrage in fiat currencies throughout the world where there's a huge market in that, where even if they get a difference of 0.5% or 0.1% per day, it's yeah, Bitcoin isn't like that at all. Wherever you are in the world, it's the same price. Well, there is a little bit of fluctuation depending on the day and what's happening in the market and if the sun has risen or not, so to speak. But number five, mankind versus bankers. This is a race that's going on right now between mankind as a whole, the common citizen, the common man, and bankers. And it's a true currency war. And it is a disruption of a banking culture. This is really what it represents because it is unlike anything that the bankers have ever made up, going back since 1694 at least. But what it really represents is a disruption and an elimination of the banking culture. Maybe it won't be 100% eliminated, but yeah, bankers don't need to be involved in any transaction. So that's a big reason why it's a race between mankind and bankers. Number six, woke. What I mean is that more and more people, just because of the internet age, they're becoming woke. And just, I mean, I remember a decade ago they called the internet the information superhighway, and it's really, really true. And now there's just so many more cameras, and that promotes accountability, necessary accountability that hadn't been there before. I mean, what I'm talking about here is things like the injustices that have been happening globally against the black culture, and specifically that was highlighted or lowlighted, if you will, with the incident that happened with George Floyd. Um, just with cameras being more available and more accountability, now there is truly the technique or the dynamic of true accountability. Bitcoin is open source. It has all the transaction, every single transaction is available. The records of the transaction are available on the internet for all to see. All you have to have is a mobile phone and internet connection. The other thing is that people are being woke to really what's going on. I mean, they're seeing. They're beginning to understand because of all the additional information that is so much more easily available from differing perspectives. People are really seeing what's going on and the degradation of the dollars or the value of currencies and where that money is going to. I mean, I've never seen so many times in the past month the phrase is money printing to hold up the asset prices, and people are understanding and they realize that this money printing is going to just the rich, just to hold up the owners of the companies and just to hold up asset prices artificially. Number seven, speed. Bitcoin transacts at the speed of light. It's open 24/7, 365. Now, the traditional financial market is open, 5 days a week if there's no holiday. And it's like basically 9:30 to 4 because it requires human beings to have the oversight on it. It requires much more human oversight. Whereas when it's all digital, Bitcoin has a 99.99% uptime, and its uptime is always open. So it is the greatest uptime of any technology. And of course, that saves time, and time in many, many ways is much more valuable than money. It's superior to gold. It has no weight. It is much less expensive to secure. If you've got any substantial amount of gold, then it'd be dangerous to keep it at your house. Whereas with the Bitcoin that people own, someone comes in and demands people to hand over their Bitcoin. Well, I mean, you kind of it's a no-brainer. So it is superior to gold in every single aspect as a form of money. Um, number well, that was number 8. Number 9, this year the reason why things are essentially going up, or the biggest reason why, is that institutional investors are finally coming in. Now, Bitcoin is different in such a way that before Bitcoin, when the traditional financial, the bankers from the top on down, institutional investors, accredited investors, they'd get the first shot at getting in, and they could get the 100x gains, and then the common people could get in through a 401k or through through means that you know the large gains were essentially not as easy. But now with Bitcoin, the common people have been promoting it, buying it, and the traditional finance has dragged their feet for a lot of reasons that were necessary. But still, the natural fact is that traditional finance are the last ones who are coming in. But this year, the tide and the floodgates has opened. They're coming in instead of through retail investors who, they were getting in with their thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions. Now with institutional investors, they're getting in with their millions and billions. As I mentioned, I think at the start of the video here, today on January 6th, the total global market cap of all cryptos is going to eclipse 1 trillion. So wow, Bitcoin itself, I think, was at about 690 billion. So that's going to go over 700 billion here very, very soon. So what is going on is now Bitcoin, just Bitcoin itself as a market cap, is larger than JP Morgan, it's larger than Visa, larger than PayPal, it's larger than the market cap of silver. And yeah, it's FOMO to the max. This since December, and certainly since January 3rd, it's going truly parabolic right now, which is an exceedingly rare event where it goes up usually on a linear arithmetic scale. It's going straight up right now, and so that it's calling out a lot of people saying, "Oh, bubble, tulip mania, or crash." They really don't know about the fundamentals and the fundamentals of what Bitcoin represents, and that leads me to reason number 10, which has to do with the halving and other dynamics that are representative of the programmatic design of Bitcoin. And that has to do, well, in May of 2020 was the third halving. It has a programmatic design that every 4 years, the rate at which Bitcoin, the number of Bitcoin that are opened up into the system through mining, or some people call it minting, or is cut in half. It started out at 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. I don't know how much that equates to every day, but in from like 2016 to 2020, it was 1,800 per day. Beginning with May of 2024, it's only 900 per day. Beginning in 2020, and right now it's only 900 per day. And with the next halving, that will be in 2024. Well, what we've seen is that let me back up to 2020, leading up, say, December of 2019 to May of 2020, there was upward price pressure because they knew that they got to buy Bitcoins before, they got to buy their Bitcoin before the rate at which they're being introduced is going to be cut in half. And what we've seen is that, and it looks very evident that this bull market we're in right now will act very much so like the other halvings. And what I'm specifically talking about is that there's about a 524-day cycle and what that would specifically mean was from about May of 2020 to about December of 2021 will be a bull market. So this thing that's going on right now, parabolic, there's no end in sight. There hasn't been anything at all in the last 10 months that has shown that it will be reducing. It may not be totally parabolic the whole time, but it will still be a vastly bull market. And these people are saying it's going to crash. They really don't know what they're talking about. There's so many people saying this, and when you look at all of the reasons why that I've already mentioned, you can begin to understand why that Bitcoin will continue to be going up until December, most likely. So that's the 10 reasons. I super appreciate your time. I am privileged to have you listen. I would sure appreciate it if you show me some free love by clicking on the blue bell, or I mean the notifier bell, like and subscribe, and it's free for you to do. And click on the playlist there. I'm going to leave a link to a March 2020 video where I called a tipping point in the stock market, and check that out. But hashtag love all, serve others. I wish you well. I wish you wealth. I wish you health. And until next time, peace.